Reiterating his government's commitment towards the empowerment of women, he also announced the formation of a permanent commission for the recruitment of women officers in the armed forces.
भारतीय सशस्त्र सेना में शॉर्ट सर्विस कमीशन के माध्यम से नियुक्त महिला अधिकारियों को शॉर्ट सर्विस कमीशन के माध्यम से महिला अधिकारियों को पुरुष समकक्ष अधिकारियों की तरह पारदर्शी चयन प्रक्रिया द्वारा स्थायी कमीशन का मैं आज घोषणा करता हूं। जो हमारी लाखों बेटियां आज यूनिफॉर्म की जिंदगी जी रही है, देश के लिए कुछ करना चाहती है, उनके लिए आज मैं ये तोहफा दे रहा हूं, लाल किले की प्राचीर से दे रहा हूं।
In order to ensure that poor section of the country get access to good quality and affordable health care, Prime Minister Modi said that Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Abhiyan will be launched on 25th of September this year.
देश के गरीब से गरीब व्यक्ति को, सामान्य जन को आरोग्य की सुविधा मिले, इसलिए गंभीर बीमारियों के लिए और बड़ी अस्पतालों में सामान्य मानवी को भी आरोग्य की सुविधा मिले, मुफ्त में मिले। और इसलिए भारत सरकार ने प्रधानमंत्री जन आरोग्य अभियान प्रारंभ करने का तय किया है। ये प्रधानमंत्री जन आरोग्य अभियान के तहत, आयुष्मान भारत योजना के तहत इस देश के 10 करोड़ परिवार, ये प्रारंभिक हैं, आने वाले दिनों में निम्न मध्यम वर्ग, उच्च मध्यम वर्ग, उसको भी इसका लाभ मिलने वाला है। और इसलिए 10 करोड़ परिवारों को, यानी करीब करीब 50 करोड़ नागरिक, हर परिवार को 5 लाख रुपया सालाना ये हेल्थ एश्योरेंस देने की योजना है। योजना को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए 25 सितंबर पंडित दीनदयाल उपाध्याय की जन्म जयंती पर पूरे देश में ये प्रधानमंत्री जन आरोग्य अभियान लॉन्च कर दिया जाएगा। और उसका परिणाम ये होने वाला है कि देश के गरीब व्यक्ति में अब बीमारी के संकट से जूझना नहीं पड़ेगा।
Prime Minister Modi also said that India is proud of her scientists who are excelling in their research and the country will unfurl the tricolor in space in 2022.
आज इस लाल किले की प्राचीर से मैं देशवासियों को एक खुशखबरी सुनाना चाहता हूं। हमारा देश अंतरिक्ष की दुनिया में प्रगति करता रहा है, लेकिन हमने सपना देखा है, हमारे वैज्ञानिकों ने सपना देखा है, हमारे देश ने संकल्प किया है कि 2022 जब आजादी के 75 साल होंगे, तब या हो सके तो उससे पहले आजादी का 75 साल मनाएंगे, तब तक मां भारत का कोई संतान, चाहे बेटा हो या बेटी, कोई भी हो सकता है, वे अंतरिक्ष में जाएंगे, हाथ में तिरंगा झंडा लेकर के जाएंगे। आजादी के 75 साल के पहले इस सपने को पूरा करना है।
Prime Minister Modi expressed satisfaction over recently concluded successful monsoon session of Parliament. He said it was the one dedicated to the cause of social justice, where several decisions, including giving constitutional status to the OBC, were taken.
अभी लोकसभा राज्यसभा के सत्र पूरे हुए और आपने देखा होगा कि सदन बहुत अच्छे ढंग से चले और एक प्रकार से संसद के ये सत्र पूरी तरह सामाजिक न्याय को समर्पित थे। दलित हो, पीड़ित हो, शोषित हो, वंचित हो, महिलाएं हो, उनके हकों की रक्षा करने के लिए हमारी संसद ने संवेदनशीलता और सजागता के साथ सामाजिक न्याय को और अधिक बलवत्तर बनाया। ओबीसी आयोग को सालों से संवैधानिक स्थान के लिए मांग उठ रही थी। इस बार संसद ने पिछड़े अति पिछड़ों को उस आयोग संवैधानिक दर्जा दे करके एक संवैधानिक व्यवस्था दे करके उनकी हकों की रक्षा करने का प्रयास किया है।
Prime Minister Modi said that Indians are now coming together to build the nation.
125 करोड़ सपने, 125 करोड़ संकल्प, 125 करोड़ पुरुषार्थ जब निर्धारित लक्ष्य की प्राप्ति के लिए सही दिशा में चल पड़ते हैं तो क्या कुछ नहीं हो सकता। 2014 में इस देश के 125 करोड़ नागरिकों ने सिर्फ सरकार बना करके वो रुके नहीं थे, लेकिन वे देश बनाने के लिए जुटे भी हैं, जुटे भी थे और जुटे रहेंगे भी।
And let's now go across live now to the CIA President Rakesh Bharati Mittal, who is speaking to our correspondent Arun Sharma.
Thanks very much, Nancy. And after the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech on the Independence Day, the corporate sector was keenly watching and observing as to what vision the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is presenting. And I am right now joined by Mr. Rakesh Bharati Mittal, who is also the Vice President of Bharti Enterprise and also the President of CIA. Sir, thank you for joining us on DD News, first of all. Every corporate sector is watching very much keenly as to what vision Prime Minister is presenting. If I ask you that, what important 3 highlights to pick up from this speech of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, what would that be?
So at the outset, let me say that as usual, Prime Minister was very, very passionate, and the speech was very forward-looking. And he tried to reach out and directed his entire speech towards the 125 crore citizens of India. So each and every person was touched through the 1 hour long plus speech which he gave. Having said that, if I look at 3 or 4 big things, I think the first is Ayushman Bharat, the national healthcare scheme, which he talked about. This is going to be the largest health insurance scheme in the world, reaching out to 500 million people and 100 million families, but more importantly, to the poorest of the poor who need it the most. Many a times, poor families end up losing their kith and kin, who are probably the earning members of the family, and the entire family then is, no one is ready to take, or no one takes care of them, will get an insurance cover of 5 lakhs each family, and they can get access to good quality, healthcare, hospitals and everything. So I think that is something which is very good. The second thing which he talked about was on the solar, energy as farmers' income. This has been one of the suggestions which we have been at CII pushing this for a long time, and I'm happy that the Prime Minister talked about this, where we are talking and looking at solar as the third crop for the farmer, which ensures that he or she starts getting another 40,000–50,000 rupees per acre per year on their lands on which they continue to do farming. There are some pilots which are already running in India, and also they can look at getting into solar pumps, where they can use water and energy for their own requirements, and if it's a larger panel they can give it to the grid, which can be also farmers' income. Okay. And the third would be the space mission which the Prime Minister talked about. I think this is something which is very ambitious, and given the strides and I would say the things which the science and technology sector and the government of India has delivered in the past, whether it's the Mars mission, whether launching 125 rockets, satellites on one rocket, this is something which is doable and not impossible. And this is going to be, I think, one of the greatest testimony and salute to India's prowess in science and technology. And I'm sure when we celebrate India at 22 and India at 75 in 2022, this would be behind us. And last but not the least, I think he continued talking about focus on women empowerment, focus on cleanliness, sanitation, and public health. So where women empowerment and public health is concerned, I think there is a lot which the government needs to do. On cleanliness and sanitation, I believe each citizen and industry needs to put forward their, whatever they can do in making sure that we become a clean, a hygiene, and a good place to live in.
All right. You talked about the agriculture sector. Now, this is Prime Minister's dream as well to double the farmers' income by 2022. How can a proper ecosystem can be made? Because Prime Minister talk about technological aspect as far as doubling the farmers' income. So how can corporate sector can play a role as far as making this entire ecosystem, be it the food processing sector or this entire industry? How can a proper ecosystem can be made so that the farmers get benefit out of it?
So I would say there are 2 or 3 very serious impediments in this. One is the land holding itself. Given today's land laws in agriculture, you can't hold more than 17 to 20 acres depending on state to state. And therefore, CII has been pushing off on a policy where the agriculture land should be made available to private sector on long tenure basis. And when I talk about private sector, it's not only the private sector. Today, even there are large farmers who with unethical means may be farming on larger tracts of land. But why do we want to do that? Let's make the legislation in a way that this becomes transparent for everyone, and therefore the farmer gets the right price also on the leasing. The second is the farmer's freedom to sell directly to food processing companies, to retailers, aggregators, and wholesalers. Today the farmer can only sell through the mandi through the artiyas. So that's the artiya license required. And we have been now pushing that perishable produce, fruits, vegetables, fisheries, meat, etc. Give farmer the freedom to sell in the mandi as well as directly. I mean, on the same basis, if you look at dairy farming, there is no legislation. Any dairy farmer can sell directly to whoever they want to. So these are the 2 serious impediments. And third is on the use of technology, which the farmer cannot do because he does not have the money to put it. This is where private sector steps in. And the moment private sector steps in, they take land of, let's say, a 500 acre of a model farm which they can put up. So 500 acres would mean about 250 farmers if we see 1 hectare. Those 250 farmers' income goes up by 40% on the lease which they get of the land, and if 2 members of the family work on a minimum wage. So their income goes up by 40%. The second is
that was a correspondent Arun Sharma
in
conversation with the CII president. We'll be getting more of that interview in just a bit, but for now we're going in for a short break here. Stay with us.
पहला अक्षर रट लो तो वह से एक विद्वान होगा पक्की होगी बुनियादें तो हाँ से हिंदुस्तान होगा पहले करो शुरुआत करो तो मन की बात करो
वंडर सीमेंट एक परफेक्ट शुरुआत।
बैंक ऑफ इंडिया की ओर से सभी देशवासियों को स्वतंत्रता दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, रिश्तों की जमा पूंजी।
इसको तो कुष्ठ रोग है। हाँ, पर ये इलाज करा रहा है।
जी हाँ, मुझे कुष्ठ रोग है, लेकिन मैं अपनी सेहत का बहुत ध्यान रखता हूँ। शरीर पर ये निशान दिखते ही मैं डॉक्टर के पास गया। डॉक्टर ने बताया ये कुष्ठ के लक्षण हैं और एमडीटी द्वारा कुष्ठ का इलाज शुरू कर दिया। और देखिए, अब मैं एक सामान्य जीवन जी रहा हूँ।
कुष्ठ से घबराएं नहीं, लक्षण दिखते ही शीघ्र इलाज कराएं। कुष्ठ का इलाज सभी सरकारी अस्पतालों में मुफ्त मिलता है।
ये दवाएं जल्दी प्लीज, जल्दी कीजिए।
तुमने बिल तो लिया ही नहीं।
अरे जल्दी में हूँ ना।
पक्के बिल के बगैर सामान के घटिया या नकली पाए जाने पर ना तो उसे बदल पाएंगे, न ही किसी तरह की कानूनी क्षतिपूर्ति ही मिलेगी। दवाएं और खाने पीने की चीजें नकली होने से तो जिंदगी भी खतरे में पड़ सकती है।
सही बात है, आप बिल दीजिए।
जब भी पैसे दें, पक्का बिल हाथों हाथ लें।
जागो ग्राहक जागो। मैं कभी कभी सोचता हूँ कि ये सिगरेट या बीड़ी पीने का क्या परिणाम होगा। क्या ये मेरे स्ट्रोक का कारण बन जाएगा, जो मुझे अपने परिवार पर बोझ बना देगा? क्या ये मेरे फेफड़ों के कैंसर का कारण बन जाएगा? क्या ये मुझे मुंह के कैंसर या हृदय रोग या एम्फीसीमा के करीब लाएगा? अगली बार जब आप सिगरेट या बीड़ी पीने की सोचें, तो खुद से पूछें, ये सिगरेट या बीड़ी पीने का क्या परिणाम होगा? तंबाकू आज ही छोड़ें। सहायता के लिए 1800-112356 पर कॉल करें या मिस्ड कॉल दें 01122901-701 पर।
On our 100th foundation year, the New India Assurance Company Limited, India's premier multinational general insurance company, wishes all Indians a very happy Independence Day.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Modi said that before 2014, the world used to say that India's economy is full of risks, but the same world now says India's economic fundamentals are strong. Listen in.
वो भी एक जमाना था जब दुनिया से आवाज उठती थी, विद्वानों से आवाज उठती थी कि हिंदुस्तान की इकोनॉमी रिस्क भरी है, उनको रिस्क दिखाई देता था। लेकिन आज वही लोग, वही संस्था है, वही दोस्त बड़े विश्वास के साथ कह रही है कि रिफॉर्म मोमेंटम फंडामेंटल को मजबूती दे रहा है। कैसा बदलाव आ गया। रेड टेप की बात करती थी, लेकिन आज रेड कारपेट की बात हो रही है। ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस में हम 100 तक पहुंच गए। आज पूरा विश्व इसको गर्व से ले रहा है। आज दुनिया से एक ही बात आ रही है, रिफॉर्म, परफॉर्म, ट्रांसफॉर्म, एक के बाद एक नीति विषयक समयबद्ध निर्णय के सिलसिला। वो भी एक वक्त था फ्रेजाइल 5 में हमारी गिनती हो रही थी, लेकिन आज दुनिया कह रही है भारत मल्टी ट्रिलियन डॉलर के इन्वेस्टमेंट का डेस्टिनेशन बन गया है।
Prime Minister Modi said that we need to free our society and the country from the disgusting mentality of rape. He added that the rule of the law is supreme and that no one can take law into their hands.
महिला शक्ति को चुनौती देने वाली राक्षसी शक्तियां भी कभी-कभी उभर करके आ जाती है। बलात्कार पीड़ादायक है, लेकिन बलात्कार की शिकार उस बेटी को जितनी पीड़ा होती है, उससे लाखों गुना पीड़ा हमें, देशवासियों को, देश को, जनता को, हर एक को लाखों गुना पीड़ा होनी चाहिए। ये राक्षसी मनोवृत्ति, उससे समाज को मुक्त कराना होगा, देश को मुक्त कराना होगा। कानून अपना काम कर रहा है। पिछले दिनों मध्य प्रदेश में 5 दिन के अंदर कटनी में बलात्कारियों के केस 5 दिन चला और 5 दिन में फांसी की सजा सुनाई दी गई। उसी प्रकार से राजस्थान में भी कुछ ही दिनों में बलात्कारियों के केस चले और उनको फांसी की सजा सुना दी गई। आज ये फांसी की खबरें जितनी ज्यादा प्रचारित होगी, इन राक्षसी मनोवृत्ति के लोगों में भय पैदा होगा। हमें इस मानसिकता पर प्रहार करने की आवश्यकता है, इस सोच पर प्रहार करने की आवश्यकता है, इस विकृति पर प्रहार करने की आवश्यकता है।
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi ended his 90-minute speech with a poem of his own and shared his vision for the nation.
अपने मन में एक लक्ष्य लिए, मंजिल अपनी प्रत्यक्ष लिए, हम तोड़ रहे हैं जंजीरें, हम बदल रहे हैं तस्वीरें। ये नवयुग है, ये नव भारत है, खुद लिखेंगे अपनी तकदीर, हम बदल रहे हैं तस्वीर। हम निकल पड़े हैं प्रण करके, अपना तन मन अर्पण करके। जीत है, एक सूर्य उगाना है, अंबर से ऊंचा जाना है, एक भारत नया बनाना है।
And with that, we're going in for a short break here, but there's more coming up. Stay with us.
बैंक ऑफ इंडिया की ओर से सभी देशवासियों को स्वतंत्रता दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, रिश्तों की जमा पूंजी।
अरे सुनिए भाई साहब, जरा गाड़ी चेक कर लीजिए प्लीज, कई हफ्तों से आवाज कर रही है।
हाँ, अभी देख लेते हैं। मुन्ना मैकेनिक हाथ लगाते ही बता देता है गाड़ी का हाजमा। आप बैठिए। आपकी गाड़ी को टीबी हो गया है, ट्यूबरकुलोसिस।
क्या कमाल की बात कर रहे हैं भाई साहब, गाड़ी को भी कभी टीबी हो सकता है क्या?
इतना जानते हैं कि गाड़ी को टीबी नहीं होता है, लेकिन ये नहीं जानते कि कोई भी इंसान अगर 2 हफ्ते से ज्यादा खांस रहा है तो ये टीबी के लक्षण हो सकते हैं। इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ, याद रखिए, 2 हफ्ते से ज्यादा अगर आपको खांसी हो, बुखार हो, पसीना आ रहा हो, अचानक वजन कम हो जाए तो ये सब के सब टीबी के लक्षण हो सकते हैं। इसकी जांच करवाइए और सरकारी स्वास्थ्य केंद्र में जांच मुफ्त है, एकदम फ्री। इंडिया वर्सेस टीबी, टीबी हारेगा, देश जीतेगा।
कांटा लाए हो?
सिलेंडर लाए हो ना मैडम?
सिलेंडर लाए हो इसीलिए पूछ रही हूँ। कांटा यानी वेइंग मशीन लाए हो?
हाँ लाए हो ना मैडम।
तो वजन करो। सप्लाई मैन को अपने पास वेइंग मशीन रखना अनिवार्य है। साथ ही गैस की सील खोलकर उसकी रिंग की जांच जरूर करें। कोई भी अनियमितता देखे तो इसकी शिकायत तुरंत अपनी एजेंसी में करें। प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना के तहत एलपीजी प्राप्त करने वाले लाभार्थी भी इस बात पर ध्यान दें।
जागो ग्राहक जागो। पहला अक्षर रट लो तो वह से एक विद्वान होगा। पक्की होगी बुनियादें तो हाँ से हिंदुस्तान होगा। पहले करो शुरुआत करो, करो तो पक्की बात करो।
वंडर सीमेंट, एक परफेक्ट शुरुआत। अरे सुनिए भाई साहब, जरा गाड़ी चेक कर लीजिए प्लीज। कई हफ्तों से आवाज कर रही है।
हाँ अभी देख लेते हैं। मुन्ना मैकेनिक हाथ लगाते ही बता देता है गाड़ी का हाजमा। आप बैठिए। आपकी गाड़ी को टीबी हो गया है, ट्यूबरकुलोसिस।
क्या कमाल की बात कर रहे हैं भाई साहब, गाड़ी को भी कभी टीबी हो सकता है क्या?
इतना जानते हैं कि गाड़ी को टीबी नहीं होता है, लेकिन ये नहीं जानते कि कोई भी इंसान अगर 2 हफ्ते से ज्यादा खांस रहा है तो ये टीबी के लक्षण हो सकते हैं। इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ याद रखिए, 2 हफ्ते से ज्यादा अगर आपको खांसी हो, बुखार हो, पसीना आ रहा हो, अचानक वजन कम हो जाए तो ये सब के सब टीबी के लक्षण हो सकते हैं। इसकी जांच करवाइए और सरकारी स्वास्थ्य केंद्र में जांच मुफ्त है, एकदम फ्री। इंडिया वर्सेस टीबी, टीबी हारेगा, देश जीतेगा।
Welcome back. President Ramnath Kovind paid tribute at the Amar Jawan Jyoti. Army Chief General Bipin Rawat, the Chief of the Naval Staff Admiral Sunil Lamba and the Chief of the Air Staff Air Chief Marshal Bidrendra Singh Dhanua were present there. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the news. But before we wrap up, from our entire team, a very happy Independence Day. Thanks for being with us.
The Chitra Sutra, the ancient Indian treatise on sculpture and painting, states that the purpose of art is to show us the grace which underlies all of creation, to help us on the path towards reintegration with the divine. From the 4th century onwards, the human form became the main embodiment of philosophic concepts. These exquisite forms were made to move us and to transport us beyond our worldly concerns to that which was more important. Temples were conceived as homes for the deity, where the formless eternal takes on a shape to give darshan to the devotee. Darshan is the transfer of grace which occurs when we look upon the beauty and harmony of the divine. Many temples were made in the Gupta period from the 4th to the 6th centuries AD. However, most were made of brick and have not survived. The earliest large body of well-preserved temples is of the period of the early Chalukyas from the 6th to the 8th centuries. These were made near the banks of the Malaprabha river in present-day Karnataka and on the Tungabhadra in Andhra Pradesh. The Chalukyas rose to power in the mid-6th century and made their capital at Badami. The earliest monument of their rule is the Ravan Padi cave at Aihole, not far from Badami. It was probably made around 550 AD and is dedicated to Shiva. The red sandstone cliffs of Badami offered a spectacular setting for the excavation of 4 caves, 3 Hindu and 1 Jaina. The largest and most impressive of these is Cave 3, dedicated to Vishnu. An inscription next to a Varaha depiction states that the cave was dedicated in AD 578 by Mangalesha, a brother of King Kirtivarman. Many Chalukyan monuments were patronized by members of the royal family. Stepping inside, we are transported to another world. Large figures of the forms of Vishnu are made in panels along the walls. We see a continuation of the sculptural styles of the rock-cut caves of the Western Deccan. However, the figures have become more slender. There is an elegance of the post-Gupta period and a distinct Chalukyan style is seen. Here Vishnu is seated in a posture of royal ease on the cosmic serpent Ananta, which means endless. Vishnu is seen in the Narasimha Avtara, part human and part lion. Pillars of the mandapa are elaborately carved with kirti mukhas and other motifs. Mithunas or loving couples represent the creative forces and the harmony of the natural order. The cave has surviving fragments of 6th century paintings which are extremely valuable as a record of the art of that time. It is known that the walls and ceilings of most early Indian monuments would have been fully painted. A distinctive feature of the caves and temples of this period are the elaborately carved ceiling panels, as we see in Cave 2 here. A panel of Ganas is made across the basement in front of the cave. The Varaha Avtara of Vishnu was the dynastic symbol of the Chalukyas. In this form, the Lord appears as a boar to rescue the earth goddess from being submerged in the ocean.
So I was first looking at the buildings, but very quickly I realized that the architecture could not be separated from its sculptural, its carved portions. Actually, the bulk of the carvings are inseparable from the buildings. And this integration, I would say, of carved figures and carved ornamentation this decor of beautiful decorative motifs is something which is, I think, the speciality of these monuments.
Cave 1 is dedicated to Shiva and is also of the mid-6th century. Projections of the rock face at right angles to the front of the cave continue the sculptural program. To the right of the entrance is a magnificent depiction of the Nataraja, Shiva in the cosmic dance. We see here the movement and the multiplicity of the world of creation, yet all held together in the great harmony of the natural order. The grace of the figure continues the styles which were established in the preceding century, in the Gupta period.
I think this warm and full-bodied sort of carving is something which is very special about early Chalukya art. It's a product, of course, of the soft sandstone that permits a very rounded way of modelling the figure. The expressions on the faces are rather otherworldly. You feel that however violent or however active the figures may be, the expressions are in another world.
There is a depiction of Durga as Mahishasur Mardani, when she kills the demon of ignorance in the form of a Mahisha or buffalo. The large buffalo appears like a toy in her hands. The region of the Malaprabha River in the Deccan was a meeting place of the styles of temple building which were developing in North and South India. While temples of other regions have been lost, examples are preserved here because little or no building has taken place in later times. Aihole is today a small village in a remote part of Karnataka state. Many of the temples here were used, until recently, as houses or cattle sheds and are known by the names of their former owners. For instance, the temple of Lad Khan, which was probably built around the end of the 6th century. An inscription states that it was dedicated to Durga. It has a large porch with fine figures carved on the pillars. Within is a simple square hall in which the windows create a striking effect. A Nandi, the bull on which Shiva rides, is a later addition. A small second story with sculptures of Shiva and Vishnu is part of the original conception. The Durga temple, most probably of the early 8th century, is apsidal in form. The shape is perennial, though not very common in Indian monuments. The temple also has a very unusual and open ambulatory around the sanctum, with pillars and no wall on the outside. There are splendid images of Shiva and Durga here. The quality of naturalism is striking. In the art of this period, the emphasis has come on relatively fewer but major images made in niches. These are isolated from others and are not made in crowded groupings. The northern style of the shikhara and the treatment of the sculpture suggest affinities to the temples of Alampur, which were made around the same time. Parts of present-day Andhra Pradesh state had come under the control of the Chalukyas in the 7th century. Here at Alampur are 9 temples called Nava Brahma temples in a later 16th century inscription. These were made at the end of the 7th or the early 8th century. 8 of these are made in the Nagara or northern style. These are among the finest temples of the Chalukyan period, and the most beautiful of them is the Svarga Brahma, constructed in the end of the 7th century in honor of a queen by her son. The exterior walls of the temple have latticed windows and niches containing deeply cut figures. The central niche has an image of the deity who is to be represented in that direction. The mithunas or loving couples are finely made on either side. They display the soft modelling and beauty of form which continues from the Gupta and post-Gupta period. The temples of Pattadakkal are on the Malaprabha river, a few kilometers from Aihole. These mark the return of Chalukya temple patronage to Karnataka after several years of activity in the Andhra Pradesh region. The first great temple here is the Galagnatha, which is in the northern style and is similar to the Alampur temples. It is in the Virupaksha temple that we encounter the full glory of art under the early Chalukyas. The temple was built in 735 AD by Lokeshwari, a queen of King Vikramaditya II, to celebrate his victory over the Pallavas of Kanchipuram. It was probably modelled after the Kailashnath temple at Kanchipuram, which had greatly impressed the king. The Virupaksha would also have served as a model for the Kailashanatha temple built at Ellora by the Rashtrakutas, who succeeded the Chalukyas. The temple is the largest of this period. Its compound walls enclose a complex of 30 sub-shrines in the courtyard and a large Nandi Mandapa. Shiva rides on Nandi the bull, who is always found close to him. This pavilion housing Nandi was to become a continuing tradition in Shiva temples. The Virupaksha, along with the Kailashnatha at Kanchipuram, was probably the largest and most ornate temple in India at that time. The structures are all made of the local red sandstone and elaborately carved. The walls of the temple have 35 niches with images of Shiva.
The figures that are represented respect the, I would say, movements and proportions of human beings. But we have to understand that when it came to depicting gods, the purpose of art was not to portray the god just as an ordinary human being, but to take, I would say, elements of the human anatomy and charge them with a sublime and divine quality. And this sometimes gave them a very formal quality.
18 pierced windows serve to light the vast interior hall. The hall has 4 rows of pillars which divide the space into aisles. The interior of the Virupaksha temple presents a world of sumptuous carvings. Scenes from the epics are carved on the pillars. There are many figures in dynamic compositions. The work is miniaturized but extremely detailed. With light filtering in from windows and the distant doorway, the effect is dramatic.
These artists who worked, especially in Badami and Patadakal, seem to have been attracted to an area of art which is somewhere between figural and somewhere between fantasy and floral. And so you have figures that dissolve into fantasy or into floral forms. You get this marvelous sort of fantastic world in which we have part circles, and inside the part circles you have figures, but they're dissolving into sort of floral forms, and no two are the same. So this inventiveness, this sort of infinite range of possibilities is something which we find in the sculptors, and it's something I think which is perhaps unsurpassed in the history of Indian carving.
The sanctum enshrines the Shivalinga, made of black stone. In the Indic tradition, deities are adored. They are offered fresh flowers, cool water, lamps, and incense. Mithunas or loving couples are auspiciously placed in the temple and the porches. They remind us always of the fruitfulness and of the harmony of nature. A shrine next to the sanctum has an image of Durga as Mahishasura-mardani, slaying the buffalo demon. There is a great naturalism in the nimble Durga, who stabs the Mahisha, whose only buffalo feature is his horns. Even in the midst of the drama of the moment, there is a marvelous sense of detachment, as she looks away and not at the demon. The Mahisha is on his knees, in a pose which conveys as much reverence as defeat.
The fact that sculptors can portray and communicate to the onlooker, to the devotee, that the gods inhabit a world beyond activity and aggression. It's something which we can meditate on. How they do it, of course, is one of the miracles of art, but something to do with the way in which the face is treated, the eyelids are lowered, it's the softness of the modelling of the features of the face, as well as the swelling, the sort of fullness of the body, and this sort of compression of form that we have in Indian art, I think is always something very noticeable in this period. It makes it one of the great highlights of the history of Indian sculpture.
The sculptural figures are dynamically posed. This vitality and movement is seen in the 8th century in temple art across many parts of India, including Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, and Orissa. Dwarapalas seen here have a remarkable similarity with those of early Chola temples, 150 years later.
One of the attractive, and I would say characteristic aspects of early Chalukya sculpture in the 7th and 8th centuries is the fact that figures are represented in various activities, because they are depicting gods in their various incarnations. And sometimes these activities are quite violent or, quite aggressive, but always the faces are detached.
The Mallikarjuna temple was made by Trailoka Mahadevi, also a queen and the sister of Loka Mahadevi, who built the Virupaksha temple. It is also made in the Dravid style of South India. It is similar to the Virupaksha, though smaller and not very well preserved. Of the 4 temples with Nagara Shikharas, the largest by far is the Papanatha. It was probably made after the Virupaksha in the early 8th century. The richly decorated interiors continue traditions of the Deccan. Further south, in Tamil Nadu, temple interiors remained starkly unadorned till a much later date. Ceiling panels are the distinctive and among the most beautiful features of the early Chalukyan temples. This Nataraja, or Shiva as a cosmic dancer, is seen on the ceiling of the Mallikarjuna temple. This fine Shiva depiction is on the ceiling of the mandapa of the Papanatha temple. This feature was taken up in the later temples of Rajasthan and Orissa. By the period of the early Chalukyas in the Deccan, the Indian temple was fully developed. On its outer walls and in the sacred interior were depictions of great beauty and grace. In Indian thought, the moment of the aesthetic experience is considered to be akin to Brahmananda, or the final bliss of salvation itself. When we respond to the grace of creation presented to us in art, we come out of ourselves and experience a greater reality.
एक है, हम सब भारतीय हैं, हम सब भारतीय हैं, हम सब भारतीय हैं, हम सब भारतीय हैं।
There is an unwritten saying in the defense forces that if a soldier during his lifetime has served the country in the northeastern section and here in Ladakh, along the Indo-China border, he is considered to be the toughest soldier of the motherland. Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force justifies each word of this saying. This is Ladakh, place of thin and rarefied air. There is very less oxygen in the air in landscape Ladakh. There are places where you would not find any blade of grass for miles. Those who belong to Ladakh have special DNA in their blood to support and survive here. The beauty, or rather the exquisite beauty of the landscape hides one chilling fact. Ladakh was a brutal battleground of 1962 war with China, a war which every Indian wants to remember for unparalleled heroics of our defense forces. And Ladakh is the same place where China still eyes large pockets as their land. Though our neighbor is classified as a friendly nation, its many acts are opportunist and wholesomely unfriendly, looking from a journalist's point of view. All this has put our brave soldiers of Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force in direct line of engagement in possibly one of the most inhospitable regions on this planet. This is Ladakh, a place of thin air. In this exclusive episode of National Security Series, for the first time ever on television, ITBP in Ladakh, deployed right at the cold Chinese frontier. 50% of locations that RSTV was allowed to shoot by the Government of India included those where television cameras had not been taken ever before. Ladakh, the second largest district in India, second only to Kutch in Gujarat, is a place so vast, expansive and inhospitable that as per the last census done in 2011, the density of population in Ladakh is only 3 persons living per square kilometer. But the vast land is extremely strategic for India. China knows it rather too well. That is why wave after wave of Chinese People's Liberation Army invaded Ladakh during 1962 war, not knowing that Indian Army will fight them too well and stop them in the midway. The border here at the Tibetan plateau running alongside the Chinese territory is known as the Line of Actual Control, the LAC. Many rounds of talks still remain before an agreed international border is drawn up between India and China. Till that happens, the task for ITBP, the Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force, is clearly cut out. Defend frontier Ladakh at all cost. Ladakh poses some of the most fearsome challenges that Himalayan heights can throw up for the ITBP. The air is thin here, meaning there is very little oxygen in the atmosphere. Snowfall in desert of Ladakh is not the same snowpack or ice that happens elsewhere in the Himalayas. Ice in Ladakh that falls from the sky is dry ice, same as one would find in your fridge or refrigerators. This dry ice is very, very dangerous. There are many horror stories that are associated with the exposure to dry ice in Ladakh. ITBP Jawans are given some chilling directions by their commandants, telling them not to expose their hands and fingers out in the open during winter months. If your fingers get exposed to dry ice for even short duration, then that's a bad story. There have been many instances of bad cases of frostbite and infection. Strangely, as the local geologist stated, landscape Ladakh has great similarities when compared with Atacama Desert in Chile in South America. Undeterred by these experiences, these hardy men and now women soldiers of the ITBP stand like a wall in front of many misadventures by the People's Liberation Army of China, the PLA, who would regularly test the patience of cool-headed ITBPians.
हमें फोर्स ज्वाइन करने का बहुत इंटरेस्ट था। हम हाई एल्टीट्यूड में आ रखे हैं यहाँ लद्दाख रीजन में, तो यहाँ पर हम काफ़ी 15-16 हज़ार फीट की ऊंचाई पे हम पेट्रोलिंग, LRP, SRP सब कुछ करते हैं और यहाँ पे हम ड्यूटियाँ भी करते हैं।
It's a picture-perfect country. Frames changes practically after every second turn. Ladakh is a photographer's delight. But these postcard frames hides one cold and chilling fact. Large pockets of this arid zone is fiercely contested between India and China. ITBP here just cannot afford to leave any stone unturned. Each countryside, every hilltop, all lanes and bylanes, all hamlets and villages, all lines of communications on guard, all ways, all year round. The Himalayan terrain on the Indian side are very rough, while on the Chinese side it's mostly Tibetan plateau. That's why one would hear many stories of so-called good roads on the Chinese side and how bad are in the Indian territory. But not anymore. Ever since Narendra Modi government has come to power in Delhi since 2014, scenes at the border areas have changed dramatically. World-class road network has come up, tarmac, just like Formula 1 track. All this right up to the last border outpost. Winds of change for better have begun to affect the lifestyle of ITBP troopers along the Indo-China border at the frontier Ladakh. Take for example the outpost Chumar, a place on this planet where ultraviolet rays bombard the tarmac without any filters. Chumar is the same place where local people have special DNA in their blood to survive in extremes. This is a rare recording done at one remote corner along Indo-China border. Occasion, ITBP's health camp for 85 residents of Chumar. The doctor on duty was very specific.
आज हम चुमर चौकी चुमर गांव में आए हैं, जिसकी हाइट लगभग 15,000 फीट है। यहाँ पे डायरेक्ट सनरेज, कॉस्मिक रेज, अल्ट्रावायलेट रेज बहुत ज़्यादा परसेंटेज है। जो स्किन के एक्सपोज पार्ट्स यहाँ पे हमने देखा, एक्सपोज पार्ट्स पे और अल्ट्रावायलेट रेज का बहुत इफेक्ट होता है। जैसे फेस है एंड चीक्स है, ये देखिए, वो दिखाऊं, ये देखिए। इसी तरह से बच्चों में इसका परसेंटेज ज़्यादा पाया जाता है।
Here in Chumar in 2014, soon after a new government was sworn in Delhi, the Chinese tested patience of the ITBP and our defense establishment. In these parts, soft vocabulary is used in diplomatic language to pronounce transgression. Chushul is not far from outpost Chumar. At Chushul height, every square foot of land is a prized one. Everyone knows what happened at Chushul and at battleground Razangla during 1962 war. These fabled lands of warriors can shake any normal person down the spine who would visit these places. Now protected and patrolled by the Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force, this part of Ladakh is being filmed exclusively by the Rajya Sabha television to drive home just one simple point. These fearsome soldiers of the motherland are guarding that part of India which is tailor-made only for the toughest of the toughest, only for the best of the best. There is no scope for the second best. Here, at these remote locations, at these arid and dry lands, ITBP troopers have one more delicate task to perform in their continuing endeavor to provide all possible assistance to the sparsely populated Ladakh. Locals are sensitized about harnessing solar power, which is abundant and plenty at the roof of the world. Area commandants and subordinates take extra pains to visit almost each doorstep, pitching in for adoption of solar power in their homes.
ये सौर ऊर्जा है, जो उसका सौर प्लांट है, वो एक बार परचेज करने के बाद उसका कोई खर्चा नहीं है, ठीक है। उसके द्वारा आप पूरा 24 घंटा लाइट का उपयोग कर सकते हैं। उसका उपयोग यह है कि सबमर्सिबल मशीनें हैं जिनके द्वारा सिंचाई कर सकते हैं उनके द्वारा, और इसका कोई प्रदूषण नहीं होगा। आप यूज करें, बिल्कुल निःशुल्क है, जितना आप यूज करना चाहिए यूज कर सकते हैं। असीमित है इसकी आपूर्ति। सरकार इसको आप खरीदेंगे तो सब्सिडी देगा, उचित रेट पे आपको ये मार्केट में मिल सकता है। और जो इलेक्ट्रिक वाईवार है ना, इलेक्ट्रिक स्टोव है, उनका यूज कर सकते हैं हम कुकिंग के लिए। सोलर कुकर है, उसका हम खाना पकाने में भी यूज कर सकते हैं उसका हम।
तो वो होना बहुत
जरूरी है वो
जरूरी है सर।
हाँ, वो प्रदूषण के हिसाब से भी और हमारे लिए भी बहुत फायदेमंद है वो।
हाँ सर, तो वो होना ही चाहिए सर। मतलब जिधर से मतलब साफ सिटी मिले वो हमें मिलना चाहिए सर।
झूले साहब, झूले साहब।
Each ITBP battalion and their affiliates has a veterinarian on the call always, as an integral part of ITBP's civil contact program at the Indo-China borderline. This is Phobran village, height 14,200 feet above the sea level and just one valley away from the border. Today, a senior vet with his team is on a visit for a routine medical inspection. For its soldiers, medics are prompt to take care of the injured. ITBP also has a lifesaver for their troopers, this pressurized suit. To tackle any emergency, this pressurized case comes in handy for any soldier suffering from high altitude sickness. He is immediately put into this lifesaver. With pressure dropping almost instantly, the injured is then rushed to lower heights. For ITBP, ponies are ideally suited for long and short range patrol. Consider it as an achievement for local commandants. ITBP troopers have begun carrying heavy armory and rations for remote outposts in Ladakh. And this includes both medium machine gun and small cannon fire. The task, as it appears, is an easy one, but in reality, it's exactly the opposite. It's battle of wits for man against all odds here at the rugged roof of the world at Battleground Ladakh.
भारत तिब्बत सीमा पुलिस ने जहां पर हमारी गाड़ियां नहीं जा पाती है, वहां पर हम सामग्री और एमुनिशन घोड़ों की मदद से चलाते हैं। ये मेरे पीछे जो आप घोड़ा देख रहे हैं, जिस पे हमारा हथियार, एमुनिशन और रसद सामग्री लदी हुई है, ये अग्रिम चौकी जाने के लिए तैयार है।
This retinue at an advanced outpost here had just left its station for border patrol to keep an eye at the entry point along the world's most fiercely contested and guarded water body. At a crime to a fact that this place, that is Ladakh, was once filled with salty seawater before the Eurasian plate traveling at great speed. After peeling it off from African landmass collided here in this region, giving birth to the Himalayas, and at the same time trapping seawater just like this one, the huge Pangong Lake. Why Pangong Lake is critical to India's defense strategy? The answer is simple. If left unguarded, our tough and rough neighbor will have an easy access into India and navigating about 100 kilometers on water over Pangong Lake as compared to covering the same distance over the rugged and rough mountains in Ladakh are two different stories. That is why ITBP has to guard both flanks of this picture-perfect Pangong Lake. To the south of Pangong Lake lies the fabled and mysterious Somo Riri Lake, one of the largest water body of the purest form of H2O available in the Himalayas. All of Somo Riri Lake lies within the safe confines of the Republic of India. Swimming and boating is prohibited in this lake, keeping in mind religious beliefs of the local village. Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force has a rare distinction of deploying women soldiers in full and complete battle formation groups in Ladakh region. We were fortunate to meet these brave girls from the ITBP at Loma, location height 13,800 feet, and again at Rango, height 14,000 feet and counting.
हमारा इरादा आज दिनांक पेट्रोलिंग करके अपने एरिया को डोमिनेट करना और दुश्मन की पीआईए के नजदीक दुश्मन की एक्टिविटीज पर नजर रखना है। इस ब्रीफिंग के दौरान किसी जवान का कोई शक या सवाल? नो मैम। यदि किसी का कोई शक या सवाल नहीं है तो सभी मेरे साथ घड़ी मिलाएंगे। अभी मेरी घड़ी में सेकंड बाकी है। 5, 4, 3, 2, अब।
At checkpoint Loma, women soldiers of the ITBP are keeping a hawk-eye at this bridge over the river Indus. No one can walk past this passage without the permission of these women soldiers.
आप अपना आई कार्ड चेक करें मैम।
Hands ready at the trigger point and fingers at the firing pin at Loma. Everyone takes these women soldiers very, very seriously.
Charlie 1 to Lima 1, Charlie 1.
Replying.
सर ये चार्ली होटल नवंबर के पीटर लीमा अल्फा क्रॉस कर रहे हैं, जिसका कोड 5437 है, जिसकी सीधा टर्म की है। रोजर।
रोजर। चार्ली 1 टू अल्फा 1।
रिप्लाइंग।
8:10 की पेट्रोल को लेकर गोल्फ रोमियो 437 पर पहुंचे। सर
Stop. This is Indian territory. You go back. This is Indian territory. You go back.
It is Chinese territory. Please, India, go back.
You go back.
This is Chinese territory. Please, India, go back.
Indian territory. You go back.
The area commandants of the Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force at Point Chumar made sure that Chinese detachments of People's Liberation Army do not and should not cross the Lakshman Rekha. As the marathon standoff turned out, the PLA just could not. This mock drill and simulated exercise held specially for the RSTV at BOP Dungti is the near representation of what really happens when ITBP platoons patrolling at the Indo-China border bump into a face-off situation with the Chinese PLA.
This is Indian territory. You go back.
This is China territory. Please, India, go back. This is China territory. Please, India, go back.
We both are friendly countries as per agreement signed in April 2005. Both sides must withdrawing simultaneously. Please go back.
And after a hard day's workout, it's time to relax. Combat duty in Ladakh is tough for those who serve the motherland, and these harsh and adverse conditions are gifted and celebrated. It's the ITBP soldier who has been standing still like a rock at the icy heights in Ladakh. This was a very special episode devoted exclusively to the exploits of the ITBP in Ladakh. With my cameraman colleagues Dushmanta and MS Suresh, this is Vineet Dikshit for the National Security Series.
Art is the reshaping of reality by man to present it in an understandable way. As the artist recreates the world around him, it is shaped by how he sees it and what he believes in. The Indian artist did not attempt to depict only the material reality around him. He wished to share the complete experience of the moment, not just the photographic presentation of the shapes around him. Beauty for the Indian artist has been a reflection of the glory of God. In fact, for the ancient artist, the experience of beauty, the ecstasy on seeing nature or art which is truly beautiful, has been considered as akin to Brahmanand or the final bliss. Join us on this journey into the heart of the Indian tradition of painting. Come with us to the gorge of the Vaghora river, where Ajanta was created, to the courts of the Mughals and the Deccani Sultans. Journey with us through the deserts of Rajasthan and the icy lands of Ladakh and Lahore Spiti. In the verdant south and in the gentle hills of the north, experience the compassionate view of life that is enshrined in Indian painting.
At over 10,000 feet altitude, the barren desert plateau of Ladakh is a fascinating crucible of cultures. It is bound on the south by the Great Himalayas and on the north by the majestic Karakoram Range. However, in days gone by, this was not an isolated place. It was an active crossroads of trade in the ancient world. Leh in Ladakh was on an artery of the Silk Route, which flowed from the distant lands of China to those of Mediterranean Europe. This artery connected the Silk Route through Leh and Srinagar to Amritsar, and from there down to Nalla Supara in present-day Maharashtra and to Kerala. Along with trade, philosophic ideas and artistic impulses flowed to this crucible in the mountains, up from Ajanta and Kerala on the one hand, and from the cities of China, Central Asia, and those of the Mediterranean on the other hand. A great Buddhist culture was created in this trans-Himalayan plateau. Since very early times, religious teachers from the Pala kingdom in eastern India and from Kashmir were bringing the ideas of Buddhism to this land. The first great coming of Buddhism, which swept across Ladakh onto Tibet, Nepal, Sikkim, Bhutan and Arunachal, was in the 8th century. When Guru Padmasambhav took Vajrayana Buddhism from Kashmir right across this entire mountainous belt. The second great coming of Buddhism was when King Yeshe-O of Guge built 108 monasteries across his kingdom in the early 11th century. These were made in Ladakh, Western Tibet and Lahore Spiti. Craftsmen and artists from Kashmir were invited by Yeshe-O, and they constructed and painted these monasteries, which were to become the backbone of trans-Himalayan Buddhism. These monasteries are a significant part of the heritage of the world, and they reflect one of the most glorious periods of painting in India. At Ajanta, we had seen the most sublime expression of classical painting in India. These paintings had taken us to a great height in the depiction of inner peace and spirituality. Thereafter, we see a marvelous body of painting which develops in the Pala kingdom of Eastern India. These paintings carry forward the grace and the beauty of human form, which was seen in the paintings of Ajanta. In the Pala kingdom, with the development of Vajrayana Buddhism, the meditative qualities and thoughtful expression of the earlier paintings finds a new meaning and form. Vajrayana Buddhism has Dhyani Buddhas, who personify different aspects of the Buddha's compassion and wisdom. This philosophy offers a new path towards attaining enlightenment. The worshipper meditates upon images of the deity until he becomes the deity himself. By absorbing the qualities personified in the image, he becomes that very aspect of the Buddha which is presented in the image before him. Thus, paintings are extremely important for Vajrayana Buddhists as an essential part of religious practice. After the Pala kingdom, the next great center of Vajrayana Buddhism was Kashmir. It was through here that this form of Buddhism travelled to Ladakh. Of the 108 monasteries made by King Yeshe-O, the best preserved is Alchi in Ladakh. The three-storied temple of Alchi is the classic Kashmiri structure, which was made in the 11th century in all the monasteries of King Yeshe-O. Alchi is an oasis of beauty and colour in the midst of the vast and barren landscape of Ladakh. The worshipper stands close to the grand statues of the Bodhisattvas that stand 20 feet high. The dhoti of the Avlokiteshwar has some of the most gorgeous paintings. We see here the only surviving visual representations of the culture and architecture of ancient Kashmir. These paintings are especially valuable as the paintings of Kashmir itself of that period have been lost. Here we see a Kashmiri king out for a hunt with falcons. A dancing girl stands before a temple in Kashmir. She has a vitality and poised style as would befit a proud dancer. A Tibetan king and queen sitting down to drink. The walls of Alchi are resplendent with figures in the most luminous colors painted anywhere. It speaks for the development of the ancient techniques and materials that these colors still appear fresh 1,000 years after they were painted. The deities are depicted in a special environment, the mandala. The worshipper has to take on the deity's qualities and see himself living in that environment. Then, he may weaken and finally eliminate his sense of living in the material world. As men are dominated by different passions, such as hate, desire, and ignorance, there are many forms of Buddhas which are presented. These Buddhas correspond to the different needs of the worshipper. They provide us the way to concentrate upon those qualities of the Buddha of which we have the greatest need. The Avalokiteshwar presents us the compassion of the Buddha. Across the entire Trans-Himalayan area, he is the most beloved deity. In this arid land where life is extremely difficult, one can understand that compassion would be the most desired and necessary human quality. Appearance and is surrounded by flames. One of the masterpieces of the Alchi paintings is the green Tara. We see here the marvelous shaping of the form with skillful shading, which creates a sense of volume and roundedness of the limbs. We see the protruding further eye, which extends beyond the line of the face. This is a convention in Indian painting, which is seen particularly in the Jain paintings of Western India. The Kashmiri artists present a lively world, with the grace and beautiful forms coming to them from Ajanta. The rich textiles and decorative elements of these paintings are remarkable, and they show that the artists had assimilated the traditions coming to them from Gandhar and Central Asia. The textiles seen in these paintings are more varied and more colorful than perhaps anywhere else in the entire realm of art. The bold and rhythmic use of scarves and decorative arabesques lend a quality of movement and grace to these paintings. The remarkable confluence of cultures is seen here in the depiction of the Kalari Payat, the martial art form of Kerala. Just below, we see a typical Central Asian horseman. The finest paintings in India have flowered at centers of trading. The exchange of ideas in prosperous trading locations has, throughout history, led to the development of vibrant and rich cultures. The Kashmiri paintings of Ladakh represent such a fruitful blend of many cultures. In the later temples at Alchi, we see a different style of painting, which is influenced by Tibetan styles. These paintings appear more like tankas or Tibetan cloth paintings. Away from the animated and resplendent world of the earlier Alchi paintings, These present the deities in a much more formal manner. They are made strictly according to religious rules, and the concentration of the artist is on accurate iconographical presentation. Figures are now arranged in formal rows of hierarchy. The early monasteries were built in small fertile pockets in the arid landscape. Another such monastery built by King Yeshe O is Mangyu. Mangyu has the most beautiful chorten of that period that survives till today. The paintings here are very similar to those at Alchi. So much so that it seems that the same hands would have painted these. Not much remains of the once vast monastery complex of Sumda, also made by King Yeshe O in the 11th century. The Kashmiri style was mainly responsible for the lovely wall paintings still seen in the beautiful monasteries at Alchi, Mangyu and Sumda in Ladakh, in the Tabo monastery in the Spiti Valley, and in the Nako monastery in the Kinnaur district of Himachal Pradesh. On the western edge of the Trans-Himalayan plateau, in Spiti, is the monastery complex of Tabo. This appears to be one of the first among the 108 monasteries built by King Yeshe O. It is dated around 996 AD. The only surviving original paintings are in the main temple hall dedicated to Varochana. The paintings here show close similarity to Alchi. The sinuous and even exaggerated body forms and the supple lines show a form of painting which is uniquely Kashmiri. The monastery of Nako is situated near the Indo-China border in the Trans-Himalayan region of Kinnaur district in Himachal Pradesh. The wall paintings at Nako display a considerable delicacy of execution. Deeply influenced by the Ajanta style of painting, an important feature of the early Himalayan murals lies in the tonal variation of body hues to produce an effect of light and shade.